my apologies for the lack of content. I've been both really busy with a lot of little tasks here and there, but also I've just been having a tough time getting back in the schedule of things like that routine of uploading stuff after taking some of that time off for the Christmas holidays, because I just find it really hard to get back into that routine. I'm sure a lot of you guys experience the same. It is real cold here now, as you can see, but I do have a source of shop heat, and that is one of those multi-fuel big electric turbine type heaters. And just been keeping a control on the emissions, and I've been running inside, and it has been amazing. I can't believe I didn't buy one last year after I looked into it and a bunch of you guys recommended them to me. I was afraid of the emissions. This year I decided I'm just going to buy one and monitor the emissions, keep a good read on it. So that's what I'm doing, and it's as long as you keep a good watch on things, it's good. I've been working on here yesterday, building a table here out of all steel stock, welding up a table, fabbing one up, and that's what I'm about to work on here today, because we desperately need a table. Because look over here, if you've been following me on Instagram, on Facebook, follow my stories, you would have seen this beauty right here. Now this is a gorgeous OBM 2x72 grinder that I'm so excited to have invested in. I purchased it there in December. It's been on its way from the States. I also have I have a motor and VFD coming from OBM as well as a bunch of other accessories that are on the way, but they're taking a long time to get here, not by fault of OBM, by fault of the shipping company. But with this big 2x72, and we're going to have that motor and everything mounted in the back, we need a sensible table, which is where this piece is coming in. I want something the right size. Let's bottom up there now. All I have fabbed up is just the top square with the 45-degree corners. So here's my plan here. 4 legs mounted inside of that top square, then the brace here. So that top square is fabbed up, and our legs are I just had them stood there just to check my distances, and then this brace frame here will be up here somewhere on the legs, okay? And that will pull everything in square and have everything just right. Now my plan is to sheet over the top here with a real heavy gauge plywood. Plywood is good because it's strong. It'll let me bolt the grinder down securely, but it'll also absorb some vibration from the grinder. It'll just absorb, versus steel. On steel might be a little bit more vibration or something. This bottom shelf here, I will probably do a sheet of plywood on this deck as well. This is going to secure the legs. You need this really, but also it'll give me room to put either a dust collection and or a quench bucket there as well, just for keeping the blades cool while I'm grinding. So that's at a height that's suitable for that. Now I'm not a super experienced welder. I haven't been MIG welding for very long at all. I just picked up a MIG welder just probably mid-2019. I've been fiddling around with it, and it's been fantastic for working on those smaller projects that I've had to get done. I made a little small welding table. I've made other few little projects, fixed a few things. If you've been following my Instagram stories, you'll have seen 1 or 2 of those projects as well. But one thing I'm confused about, or struggling with, is keeping things square. First off, it seems like you can make your cuts as square as possible, but getting them to end up like that when you're done welding has been near impossible for me. All these cuts, I was so precise getting everything right, but I've just been struggling, and I'm wondering if short of having a huge heavy gauge welding table with the holes where you can clamp and brace everything and just bind it there while you're welding, is there anything I can do short of that? I did make up as perfect as I could get this little 90-degree jig so that I could put my pieces in, clamp them to this, and then weld. And I have been reading into like strategic welding points, how to weld, because obviously, and this is how I started off, you run an entire bead on one side first, and that pulls things over. then you weld on the other side, and it might draw things back, but it might not. So the amount of heat there is doing all kinds of wonky things. So I've been tacking 4 corners first to hold things rigid, and then doing partial beads, and then my final weld. But it's just been a battle keeping everything, and all my projects, keeping everything right where I want them, so the finished project is still nice and square. So if you have any advice of something I can do that's sort of makeshift and just easier, that'd be awesome. I'd love for you to comment down below or send me an email. But we're going to get to work on some more fab work for this table. Now, while I don't know a ton about welding, I will share and take you guys along with a few things that I have come up with and learned. If you're building a steel table, which I've built a couple now, and it's a nice project for you to practice on, because it's not that big a deal if it's not perfect. It's just a workshop table. But if you're building one, don't just build 4 legs with bottoms to go on the floor like this. Either your legs won't be perfect in line with each other, and even if they are, the chances of your floor being absolutely perfect along that span is unlikely. Now, with a wooden table, there's some flex usually, so once you get a bit of weight on it, your legs settle down to those highs and lows. A steel table will not do that. If you have the slightest bit of offset in the legs or in the floor, it's always going to be that little click, click, click. And you don't want to be the guy that's shoving shims under the table legs. It's really annoying. What you need to do is have some sort of adjustable feet. And a lot of different workstations that you buy will have this. An easy way to do this, and what I'm using here, is a big washer, big enough to cap this off, and then a nut and a bolt. Now the nut will get welded to the washer, the washer will get welded to the post, but then you have these adjustable feet. Now you want to pick a nice big bolt so that you have a nice surface here to sit on the floor. But once you get your table in place where you want it, you can just get down with a wrench, and you can always kind of turn these in and out to adjust your legs so your feet touch the floor. And I've used this before, and it works quite well. So that's what I'm going to do here now, is install these on the 4 legs. So I have most of my welds laid out now. I haven't been too concerned with filming. Just, it's so cold out here these days that filming is a real pain. I have 2 more episodes of Newfoundland Hobbies to finish up, and I can't wait, because they're just I struggle to do that much filming when you're out in cold like this. It's not very comfortable. Here's what we have so far. Everything seems to be nice and square, pretty good anyways. Got a few slight issues, but nothing that'll affect operation or that you can see by the naked eye. Now this table is really heavy and brutally strong, and there's about $100 worth of steel. This is what's left over out of $100 worth of steel that I bought. It's 1.5 inch square tubing, 1/8 inch walled, and that is $100 worth to build that table right there. Some of you might be wondering, with the amount of work I'm doing, the amount of money I'm spending, why would I build a table so small? Why am I building it kind of just big enough for the grinder? Why am I not building a great big table, probably 6 feet long or so? And that's for a very specific reason. At some point this year, I hope to have an actual grinding room that's separate from the rest of my shop. If any of you guys watch Alex Steele, ever since the first time I saw him have his grinding in a separate room, a sealed off room, I was thinking, man, that is the way to go, because that is the only thing here that completely pollutes my shop with dust. Anytime I'm grinding, whether it's steel, especially micarta, anytime I grind with micarta, the whole shop just gets buried in dust, and I don't want that. Long term, I don't want that. So I'm going to have a grinding room. Of course, if it's just your grinder in there, you don't want a massive amount of shop real estate taken up, so you just want a little tiny room. I'm planning on having a little tiny room, probably 5 by 5, 6 by 6, something like that. And I want just a little table to go in there. So I want this thing to be permanent. The grinder's going to be on this, and that's that. I just have a couple more places like here and here to fill in a bead of weld. You can see most places I have done, but I've been welding kind of strategically so things don't twist out of shape. So there's just a few spots to go and fill in, like here and here. And before I forget, this is a welding helmet I had come from banggood.com. If you've ever shopped there, you know they have all kinds of stuff super cheap. Well, there, I don't know, months ago now, they offered to send me some gear, one being that Lydian impact driver, but they offered to send me some gear to review. Now, one of the things I picked out was this welding helmet, because I didn't have a good automatic welding helmet. If you've never used an automatic one like this, you are missing out. It is the real deal. It just automatically goes into dark mode and comes out as soon as you break the connection in the weld. It's just instant. It's good on the eyes. Pretty dusty there now. But this thing is awesome. I'll admit it's so cheap. The first time I put it on my face, I put a set of welding glasses on my eyes inside. Then I put this thing on and I started the weld, and I seen that it did indeed go dark. So I didn't really trust it because it was so cheap. It wasn't worth the risk of a welding flash and having to deal with that for an evening. So this thing is nice. You got all your standard like North American style controls. You got the replaceable lens in there. It's a real nice standard harness that's padded. It's just really nice little welding helmet. I couldn't really ask for too much more, and for the price, unreal. So if I remember, I'll throw the link down in the description and I'll count that as my review for this helmet. This is the beauty of being able to do custom crafts work, and that is to be able to tailor stuff to your exact preferences. So this table is nice and compact to fit in a very small room, not take up a lot of real estate. Got that beautiful tensioning system on OBM here. But what we'll have is a big motor mounted here that'll take up most of the width of the back here. The drive wheel will come behind on this side. And then we'll have a VFD, which is my motor controller, will be mounted up here somewhere, so I can control. I have this steel shelf right down here. It's a dip bucket. I built this right to my height preferences, because when you're grinding, you don't want to have to be pulling your shoulders up, because there's days that I'm grinding for 3 hours straight. And I'm sure to some of you knife makers that might not be a lot, but for me at a single time, it's a long time. So if you're grinding for a few hours like that, you don't want to be up like this. And you also don't want to be down like this, because it's a killer on the back and shoulders. You want to be in a nice neutral position, and that seems to be right here. So you can just kind of move the body. And I designed this so that I'm right in the middle of the platen when I stand like this. So that's my most steady. I can kind of lock my arms like in this position and work that grinder. And then of course your blade gets hot, dip, dip. Very simple like that. I can have a nice bucket of water there, and this should be a really nice setup. I'm also thinking I built this low enough so I could have a bucket of water, but also potentially run, say, a 4-inch hose out here with a mouth for dust collection right here. So I can mount that off of the table. Maybe I'll weld on a steel hanger or something to grab, because this thing throws dust mainly straight down to the floor. So it'd be nice to have that right there. And this is just going to be the perfect setup. I'm so excited to get that motor and VFD in. I've still got to deck this over with plywood. I think I'm going to paint it over because of course this mild steel wants to rust really quickly. And of course, knife making, you're always around water and stuff dunking, so this thing will get ugly real fast. So I'm going to paint it up, but hope you guys learned a little something or were entertained. One of those helmets, if you're looking, click the link down in the description. Welding helmets can be expensive. You can easily pay just $100–150 for just an average one. So to be able to find one that's cheap and affordable is definitely a nice option to have. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel if it's your first time here. And we'll see you in the next video.